Well, hello, Bob Richards. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Michael. How are things with you today?
Oh, things are going absolutely great. But you know, Bob, we have a lot of people that love your mini podcasts as well as your regular Let's Get Real podcast. And we actually got a question for one of your loyal fans. And the
Yeah,
question is, Dear Bob, do all homes qualify for financing? But notice homes different than a person. So do all homes qualify for financing?
that's our topic for the day, Michael. And in the best way is to answer no, they don't. And the reason being is that there's two entities that need to qualify for a loan. When you have different type of loan programs that are out there, you're talking conventional FHA, VA, rural housing, RDA loans. My goodness, there's just a variety of different loans. But each one of those loans have to qualify the buyer and the house. A couple of weeks ago, I had an opportunity to go through a home out in Ivans. This was a past client that I'd worked with for many, many years. I actually sold it to him about 20 years ago. He had used it as a rental property for all of that time. We had great tenants. It was a great situation until the last tenant who just absolutely thrashed the place to where now the homeowner is looking between about 60 and $70,000 to rehab an 1,100 square foot home. 1,100. It was not talking
Oh.
anything upstairs, basement, just a small little 1,100 square foot home. It was that bad. I mean, we're talking removing cabinets and flooring and
Oh.
drywall and some plumbing, and it's a mess. So would a lender go in, or a loan officer, or an underwriter, or an appraiser go into the home and say, "Oh yeah, we can make sure we can loan on this. Our asset is protected because the home's condition is such that if we did need to foreclose on the house, we'd have enough equity."
Yeah.
On this instance, no. It just, as I had mentioned to other people, the only thing it really has going for it is it has a roof, and the roof is in good shape. You know,
And
it's
it's
a
on
good
a piece of
start.
land.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sprinklers are okay. Anyway, it just is not something that we would want to um, uh, get the hopes up of buyers or borrowers to say, okay, you can buy it for this amount of money, put in 50, 60, $70,000, and then flip it for X
Mhm.
amount of money because
Yeah.
the lender just is not in a good position, and they've got to protect their financial position, and they would just simply say no. Now, the buyer, whoever that buyer is, has to be one that pays cash and then also has enough money to be able to do the rehab on the house before it is either occupied by the owner, sold, or rented out.
Okay. So let me ask a couple of questions here. So let's say we got a $500,000 house. Okay. And there's $100,000 worth of damage. And the lender goes, no, 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 no. We're not going to loan anything in this because it's like totaled on the inside. It needs $100,000 worth of work. So would they say, okay, we'll do like 80% of the 400,000, but then you got to kick in 125,000 and then we'll do it? Or do they just say, no, we're not going to do anything until you fix this thing up and then we'll consider it? What would they do there?
Yeah, super good question, Michael. If you have a local lender that understands where things are, how they operate, HOAs, location, comps within the area, that kind of a thing, it's highly likely that that local lender or bank will allow financing. Now, what they'll do is they'll hold the note in-house. They won't broker it to Wells Fargo, Mr. Cooper, Chase, Bank of America, those type of lenders. They'll
Yeah.
keep it in-house so the borrower pays the bank every month and not sending it off to a place in Dallas or San Francisco or
Okay.
something of that nature. So, in essence, to your question, about $300,000 is what the lender would loan on in this scenario. So there's about $200,000 there of spread between the three and the 500,000 that the borrower would have to make up the difference for. That would give enough skin in the game that if the bank had to foreclose, they've got basically $200,000 to work with based upon appreciation once the house is done and the actual completion of the remodel.
Wow, that's a really good answer. So, Bob, if anybody has any questions on whether or not a home they're looking at is ready for financing, how can they get a hold of you?
Thanks, Michael. It's 435-703-8824. That's 435-703 Utah. Pretty easy to remember. I'm with Berkshire Hathaway in downtown St. George is in Ancestor Square. Love to get a chance to talk to people about, okay, what will it take for your home to qualify for financing? This expands into other areas too, Michael, such as mold and termites and otherwise.
Yeah.
That's for another day. But from a standpoint of best to reach and know what is needed, after 33 years, I have a good idea of what's required for a home to qualify for financing.
Sounds good. And let's remind everybody they can find you online at buyutah.com. And also, you've got a really cool podcast called Let's Get Real, which is available on YouTube. It's available on your website and all the other major podcast channels. Bob Richards, thank you so much. We'll see you again
Thank
next.
you, sir. You
Okay.
got it.
Take care.